Okay, I'm Lev Nelik, who's pumping machinery, and we're doing a little pump experiment, cavitation versus air entrainment, which we'll leave it for you as a puzzle to solve. Well, this is Matt from...
Hello, Ag Power.
And this is Dan.
From Mail Services.
Okay, so what we're about to do is we'll have a system that has a tank supplying fluid, and if you can point out to the pipes, supplying discharge suction fluid from that hose over to the system of pumps. One goes to the left and right, and they reach the pumps, pump number 1 and pump number 2, okay? And then the common discharge is measured by the discharge pressure, and there's 2 flow meters. And the discharge comes out ultimately through the hose, and it goes back to the tank through a discharge hose, which is this one here. Then it's pointing right here. So we basically recirculating fluid from tank to tank, suction to the discharge. We have 2 gauges. Pressure gauge, which is calibrated to 15 psi pressure or minus 30 inches of mercury, or equivalent to minus 15 psi gauge, so it goes pretty much close to absolute vacuum, quote unquote. We have a similar gauge, the same type of gauge on the suction side. So we're going to run the pump. So Matt, we're going to start the pumps. We'll push the button. The pumps are running, and we can see 2 flow meters registering the flow, approximately 2.5 gallons a minute or so. The discharge pressure is about 5 psi. Suction pressure is close to 0, slightly negative, I guess to account for some loss of pressure friction from the supply tank to the pumps. We're going to do now, we're first going to close the suction valve over there. Yeah, then it's closing the valve. As he's closing the valve fully, you can see the pressure drop from 5 to 0 psi on the discharge side. The suction side also dropped to 15. The flow is obviously 0. Tank is closed. But the interesting question is why the pumps cannot evacuate the suction line greater than minus 15 inches of mercury. That's the first question. We can't get it to cavitate. We're trying to get the pump to cavitate, and we can't get pressure low enough. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to open the suction valve back up again. Then it's going to open the valve, and instead we're going to turn a compressor or vacuum pump. And then as a vacuum pump operates, we're going to close the vent valve on the tank, therefore allowing vacuum to be created in the tank on the surface of the liquid. So then it's going to start a compressor. And as he's closing the valve to the tank, watch what happens to the gauges and to the flow in the flow meter. As you can see, there's some bubbly activities in the flow meter. The one big bubble coalescence. The pressure is about 26 inches of mercury. On the suction side, it's about 28 inches of mercury. You can start hearing the sound. The flow is lost, flow is gone. The one big vapor bubble is now accumulated in the flow meter. And you can start hearing the noise. The pump's essentially running dry, with the veins coated either by vapor or by air. If we restore the pressure by opening the tank valve, you can see things got smoother, the bubble disappeared. Let's repeat it one more time then. Close the valve and see what happens. You can see creation of a lot of bubbles, and then they'll coalesce in one big bubble. Very violent regime. Don't do it at home with trained professionals. You can see the bubbles accumulate on both flow meters. Now open the valve then. All right, it cleared up almost instantaneously. Pressure is restored. There's no vapors or air. Now, we want to know, maybe we have a system leak. So let's try to close the valve again. And we're going to turn the compressor off, okay, as soon as we go to the vacuum. Let's wait till it goes. All right, now we're turning the off compressor, and we're turning the pumps off. Nothing is running, and yet this frothy liquid, the big bubble, is still staying here. Well, if we have an air leak somewhere with nothing running, you would expect this pressure to increase. The leak would eventually let the air come in, and the pressure will drop, but nothing is happening. The gauges are frozen and a pretty high vacuum, 25 inches of mercury or so. So the question for you, the readers of our puzzle, this is Matt, Dan, and Lev's puzzle for you. What is happening? Did we hear cavitation? Was it air? If it's air, where did it come from? If obviously there's no leak. For that question, call us and send us an email at pumpingmachinery.com or to my email, drpump@pumpingmachinery.com, and we look forward to hear for your ideas and thoughts and input. And for our wonderful operators, for Matt and Dan, thank you for participating in this interesting test during our pump school.